The Generation 1 gym leaders and their teams are considered iconic amongst the community. For example, everyone knows Brock is the first gym leader with his notable Geodude and Onix. But what happened if those Pokemon suddenly vanished and the gym leaders had to make a new team never seen before? Spoilers! It turns into a complete disaster. In this video, I'll make 8 new teams for the 8 gym leaders, containing none of the Pokemon in their initial gym battle within the Red and Blue, Yellow, Fire Red and Leaf Green and Let's Go games. The Pokemon can only be from Generation 1, and I have to use the team slots plus levels of the original Red and Blue games. Firstly, let's start with Brock. Despite having to face him as a gym leader in the past 4 games, he's always had only the 2 same Pokemon, the aforementioned Geodude and Onix. And well, if we take them away, we can see why Game Freak stuck to those 2. Geodude doesn't evolve until level 25, and I'm not too keen on giving gym leaders under-level Pokemon, such as Graveler, if I can help it. Aerodactyl is too strong for the first gym, and with only the first generation Pokemon available, we have very limited options. I firstly replaced his Geodude with Rhyhorn because although it is slightly stronger, Giovanni's not using it, and it has the exact same type as it. The only 2 rock type Pokemon left are the fossils, Omanyte and Kabuto. Personally, I went with Kabuto because it features more in the manga, and Kabutops is on his team in the World Leaders Tournament, whereas Omastar is not. While I'm counting the initial gym battles for what Pokemon I can and can't use in this video, the Generation 1 gym leaders feature in a lot of games. They're available in the post games of Gold and Silver, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and also the Black and White 2 games. So while the teams in those games don't count in disqualifying Pokemon, I can certainly use them as inspiration for this video. Now onto Misty, who again is a very well known water type gym leader. In almost all of her appearances she uses the same Pokemon, Staryu and Starmie. But Let's Go changed some things. By the time of Let's Go we had 5 Generation 1 games, and 7 games where the Kanto Gym Leaders featured post-game. As a result, Game Freak decided to switch up a lot of Gym Leaders teams, so we weren't playing the same game for the 15th time. In all fairness, I am happy about the changes because it makes the games feel a little bit more fresh, just not in this very specific video. As a result, Let's Go made Psyduck Misty's lead over Staryu, and so I can't use that Pokemon either. I would have used Psyduck if it wasn't disqualified. Fortunately, the Kanto games have a lot of water types, so I wasn't too fazed. For her new lead, I added Goldeen. Goldeen is used by a lot of water-based female classes in the Generation 1 games. It matches her style being a tomboyish mermaid, and the Goldeen line features alongside Misty a lot. She uses Seeking in the Kanto Leaders Tournament, and the manga also depicted the Goldeen line in Misty's gym, as well as her using a Goldeen to protect against Agatha's ghost types. For her ace, you've seen it in the thumbnail, it's Gyarados. I've always loved sweet gym leaders having unexpectedly powerful Pokemon, like the cerebral Jasmine having a Steelix, or Whitney having it. Not to mention Misty's Starmie was level 21 in the base games, and if I wanted a fully evolved water type Pokemon, that meant I could only either have Vaporeon or Gyarados, where I felt like Gyarados was the better pick. I picked Gyarados because it's a very worthy ace of any gym leader, naturally evolves at level 20, which fits nicely, and in the Let's Go rematch, Gyarados actually overtakes Starmie level-wise on Misty's team, therefore becoming her new ace. lt.surge is the first gym leader where I realised this challenge was an awful idea. He initially uses a team of Voltorb, Pikachu and Raichu, although he uses Magnemite on his Let's Go team. That change stings a lot. However, I can at least fill out a good portion of Surge's team. His ace will firstly be Electabuzz, a Pokemon he uses in some form on every rematch. In the manga, it's even described as his most powerful Pokemon, so it's an easy fit. The only other viable Pokemon he can use is Jolteon in the level 18 slot. Much like Electabuzz, it features in the Kanto Leaders Tournament and Let's Go rematch. Plus it fits the electrical animal role like Pikachu did on the old team. But now that we get to his later Pokemon, we have an issue. Voltorb and Magnemite don't evolve until level 30, and the Pikachu line is out of bounds. I'm also not giving him a Zapdos. If this were solely Let's Go, then I would be able to give him an Alolan Geodude in the lead slot, but unfortunately that doesn't work for the older games. I'm reluctant to do this, but I'm going to have to give him an under-leveled Electrode. Magneton works too, but Voltorb is his sync pair in Masters, and so fits slightly more. Finally, Electrode is synonymous with explosions, which synergizes with Surge's military theme. It's not the best team, but my hand was forced. Now on to Erica. Oh boy. Erica initially uses a Victory Bell, Tangela, and Vileplume, but the options decrease as Yellow added a Gloom to her team, and Let's Go gave her a Weeping Bell. So that's Tangela out of the frame alongside Victory Bell and Vileplume, and all their lines. I may be desperate, but I'm not giving the best grass specialist in the Kanto games a Sprout or a Weed. I don't love giving gym leader starters, but Ivysaur is sadly one of the better picks as her lead Pokemon. It has the floral aesthetic, has the grass poison type to match Victory Bell or Vileplume, and she uses Venusaur in black and white tournaments. Venusaur also features very prominently in the manga as Erica's main Pokemon. Secondly, I give her Execute. Since it's a stone evolution, I could have evolved it into Executor to add further viability to the team, but for reasons that will soon become clear, I declined. Unfortunately, the only grass type that Erica hasn't used in her teams, which aren't Executor and are fully evolved, is Parasect. It's weak and not a great fit, but she does use one in a Let's Go rematch, so at least there's that. Koga quite frankly uses a bevy of poison type Pokemon. His initial team has 2 Coughing, a Muck, and a Wheezing, but Yellow give him a Mothma and weirdly Venonat. 3 Venonat. In their 40s. But Let's Go hurt the most, giving him Golbat, which I definitely would have put on the team to add viability to his Crobat ace in the Gen 2 games. Sadly, it looks like the Gen 7 devs got to it before me again. Fortunately, Generation 1 had an insane number of poison types, so rebuilding Koga's team wasn't too hard. His first Pokemon will be Arbok, a fan favourite in the Pokemon universe that he surprisingly never used in the mainline games. He uses a Tentacruel in his Let's Go rematch team, and it provides him with a nice response to ground types. Finally, since Giovanni isn't using them, I give him a Nidoqueen and his new ace Nidoking. Personally, I'm surprised a Pokemon as strong as Nidoking hasn't been used on Koga's team, but I'll take it for this video. Sabrina, similar to Koga, uses a lot of different Pokemon across the generations. In her first team she has a Kadabra, Mr. Mime, Ace Alakazam, and for some reason, a Venomoth. The Generation 1 games have a lot of fantastic and unique Psychic type Pokemon for the region, and yet they decided to give her a Bug type. And the Yellow games get even worse. Why does Sabrina only have the Alakazam line? Why does she have an Abra at level 50? And why does it only know Flash? With that said, the Let's Go games once again get the franchise back on track by giving her a Slowbro and Jinx. Unlike Koga, however, there are far less Psychic types than Poison types in the first generation, so this was a lot tougher. Nonetheless, I settled on her new lead being Hypno, a Pokemon that fits her unsettling demeanour, and is featured on her Let's Go rematch team, as well as her Kanto Leaders tournament. For the next 2 slots, I added Execute and Executor. Hopefully now you're starting to see why I didn't give this Executor to Erica on her team, because if we did, we would be in deep trouble. Similar to Hypno, it's made appearances outside of her gym battles, such as in the World's Leader tournament. I then decided her new ace would be Starmie, since Misty isn't using it. It's the only available Psychic type Pokemon on her team that doesn't look goofy. Also, fun fact, the other eligible Pokemon for Sabrina's team were Drowsy, Slowpoke, and Alolan Raichu in Let's Go. Blaine, just for any poets that may know, rhymes with pain, and I'm certainly feeling the pain when I get to his team. Blaine's initial team featured the entirety of 2 Pokemon lines. He had a Growlithe, Ponyta, Rapidash, and Ace Arcanine. Okay. Then the Yellow games gave him a Ninetales. Not okay. And then Let's Go gave him a Magmar. I want to cry. The Fire type is one of the more rare types in the Pokemon universe, And so I apologise in advance because this team is going to look abysmal. As his lead, I give him Vulpix. He does have several Vulpix cards in the TGC, so that's at least something. I then give him a Charmeleon, which is unfortunately a starter. That being said, if this were in Let's Go, I would have replaced the Charmeleon with Alola Marowak. His third team member is Charizard, and although it's another Pokemon in the starter line, at least he uses this Pokemon in Black and White, in Pokemon Stadium, and he uses one in the manga to capture Articuno. The only Fire-type Pokemon left that isn't in the starter line, or Vulpix, is Blaine's new ace, Flareon. This is the only pick that I feel actually works on Blaine's team because he's used it in the Kanto's Leader Tournament, World's Leader Tournament, and also on his Let's Go rematch team. And now for Giovanni. With 5 Pokemon slots. In his gym match, he uses Rhyhorn, Dugtrio, Nidoqueen, Nidoking, and Rhydon as his notable ace Pokemon. The only other Pokemon he used is Persian and Yellow, which isn't too bothersome because it's not even a ground type. Since Brock took Giovanni's Rhyhorn, it's only fair Giovanni can take his Onix as a lead. He even uses it in Team Rocket battles before the gym, so it only makes sense. I then added 2 more pure ground type Pokemon in Sandslash and Marowak. I can understand why the games didn't give him Marowak because, to put it simply, I don't think the two parties get along very well. But Sandslash surprisingly has never been on his gym team. Both Marowak and Sandslash also appear on his Kanto Leaders tournament team, so I felt that justified their slots. The final 2 Pokemon are from the same line because there are no other ground types. Firstly, I added a Graveler and made his new Ace Golem, which I feel is an intimidating enough Pokemon worthy for a hardened Mafia boss. It matches his Rhydon's type being rock ground and even is used by him in the Kanto Leaders tournament. Creating entirely new teams for these gym leaders was tough and almost impossible, but I hope you all enjoyed nonetheless. If you want to check out more content where I change Pokemon regions, check out this Diamond and Pearl video where I completely fixed its regional decks. Nonetheless, have a great day, and peace!